Are some new details emerging in the case of the accused Craigslist killer. Police looking at the possibility that gambling may have been a motive for these crimes. And they say that items belonging to the victims, or some other victims perhaps, were found in the suspect's home when they searched it. There he is. 22-year-old Philip Markoff was arrested on Monday as he and his fiancee were driving to Foxwoods Resort Casino, a huge casino up in Connecticut. There's a picture of it. Now, the Boston University former medical student is being charged with murder, with kidnapping and armed robbery in the death of one woman and the assault of another. In fact, Julissa Brisman, there's a wake being held for her right now in New York City as her family and friends are grieving her loss. Now, the casino is now on board. They're helping the Boston police. They're talking to them about how often he went there, what kind of patterns he had in his gambling. Let's bring in our panel and get their thoughts on this. Bob Massey is a Fox News legal analyst. Dr. Keith Abloh is a psychiatrist and Fox News contributor. And Tom Ruskin is a former NYPD investigator. Tom, let me start with you. What do you think about how strong this case looks? I think they're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. They're finding evidence from other crimes. They will eventually tie these together. I know the New York City Police Department is looking at open 61's open complaint reports to try and tie him in to any complaints that they may have had or any similar types of crimes. The forensic evidence is building and building and building against this guy. Dr. Abloh, a couple of interesting things coming up here. We're now learning that souvenirs were found in his apartment, that they found hidden women's underwear in his apartment. Now, up until that finding, there had been no sort of overtly sexual connection to these crimes, which I thought was interesting because it made it look like the crimes were really about the money. What do you think?
Well, listen, from the beginning, and I have a blog up on the website about this now, these are crimes against women, and these are crimes against women he may have particular feelings about. Women who take advantage of men or women who are supposed to be at men's service, beck and call. He's starting to look like a real predator in the sense that if you're keeping trappings of the victims, this is what serial killers do. We were on a slippery slope perhaps here that started with robbery, maybe feeding gambling debts, but he may have tapped some underlying rage, maybe particularly against women here. He may not have even known that was there, but he may have been acting on it, and we may have been in real trouble going forward here. Yeah, we know the casino is involved now, and they're talking about this to police. Bob Massey, what about Craigslist? Do they have any liability in this as far as you can see?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think from a civil, unless there's some kind of prior knowledge, Martha, they're not going to have any civil liability or criminal liability. But what it does raise is, you know, we see this unfolding in so many different crimes, is the fact that these type of methods of communication now breeds young people that have killed themselves. It's just a whole new area of investigation, and technology cuts both ways. On one hand, it's assisting the police, the forensics, for purposes of solving the crime. On the other hand, it allows people like this, and surely I agree with the doctor, this guy, I mean, it seems as if the evidence is becoming overwhelming, is a serial killer. And as a result of that, I'm sure gambling was not the motive. You don't have to kill somebody in order to get money. This guy obviously is a sick guy, which probably was going to be one of his defenses.
But it seems like he was getting away with this in the prior offenses, and getting the money and going to Foxwoods, it sounds like, and probably other casinos, and spending that money. So that's what I'm finding really interesting about his profile here, Tom.
What's interesting about this guy, he brings a gun to rob people. The fact that he's willing to use that gun, the fact that he used a bludgeon object to beat her. Now remember, there's two other victims that we know about who can identify him in a lineup, and no one's talked about that. But I'm sure in the weeks to come, he's going to be put in a lineup, and they're going to say, yeah, that's the guy, if they haven't already.
Yeah, Dr. Abloh, when I started, investigating this case a little bit, I couldn't help but be reminded of a couple of other cases. The hacking case, for example, Lori Hacking, killed by her husband, Scott Peterson, who killed his wife. And in each one of these cases, you hear about the fiance in this current case, in the Markoff case. She's all excited. They're about to get married, right? So in each one of these cases with Mark Hacking, they were about to move. It was all about to come out that he actually wasn't admitted to medical school in his case. And then you have Scott Peterson. The baby's going to be born in a couple of weeks. For all three of these men, you have life-changing events that are about to come down. Is it possible that there's pressure brought to bear by these life-changing events that trigger something in them?
Well, it certainly was the case in the prior cases that you mentioned, and particularly having written a book about Scott Peterson, I can tell you that the impending birth of Connor, of course he took his wife's life, but also his unborn child's life, I think it read to him like joining another family. He had had terrible suffering in his family of origin, not a good experience, and so I think that that could have been a factor. Here, getting married to a woman, joining a woman, when in fact, what are you doing in your off time? You're binding their hands, you're finding women who are most vulnerable, and then you end up killing one. Sure, there's an unhealthy symmetry there.
And what is it like, Dr. Keith, just staying with you for a moment, what is it like for the people who are so shocked by this? You know, the Markov, his fiance, I mean, she came out yesterday and said he couldn't hurt a fly. I mean, I can only imagine this poor woman, you know, one day you think you're getting married in August to a guy that you're crazy about and you're signing up registries and inviting friends, and the next you're hearing that there's underwear in the apartment and firearms in the apartment?
Of course it's shocking. It's time for personal inventory on her part too. These people are not so easy to identify. This is somebody who no doubt was trying to fit in, if all the allegations against him are correct. He had exorcised the strange parts of his character, buried them, and was now expressing them. But also, when you go back, you do find oddities and peculiarities of behavior. If she racks her brains enough, she's going to start connecting the dots and say, wait a second. I did see things. Yeah,
Bob Massey, you know, when you look at this crime and this situation, you know, what shocks you the most about this guy's profile and the way this all came about, if indeed he's guilty?
I think there's a couple of things that bothers me. First, with the fiance, you know, it's one of these situations, Martha, where love is very blind. I mean, there's evidence coming out. She's still standing by her man. I'm assuming her parents at some point will sort of say, wait a sec, we need to look at this because it's a very scary situation. Thank God she did not become a victim. Yeah. As it relates to him, what's scary is it could be the guy next door. It could be the guy that you go play golf with. It could be the guy that you just hung out with, playing to whatever it may be. And when you see, particularly a kid in medical still obviously has studied some of these things, and I'm sure the doctor would tell us sometimes they actually become some of the things that they study, they begin to emulate these type of things. And the fact that, as your first guest said, we have eyewitnesses, and God bless them that they survived. Let's pray that they could remember the event and they're able to identify this guy and put this guy off the street.
In one of those cases, the woman said that she basically just was supplicant. She did everything that he asked her to do, and she said, and I'm so glad. In this case, you know, sometimes fighting back is the best way, but in her case, she believes that that's what kept her alive. Yes. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Dr. Keith Ablow, Bob Massey, is always great to talk to you. Tom Ruskin, thanks for coming in to the newsroom today. Trace, over to you.
Well, Congress looks at controversial new legislation. Supporters say it's needed to protect the most vulnerable people in